Few songwriters have earned the right to judge great songwriting quite like Paul Simon. As one half of Simon and Garfunkel, and later as one of America's most celebrated solo artists, Simon built a career on thoughtful lyrics, unforgettable melodies, and songs that have remained relevant for generations. That is why his opinion on the Beatles has always carried special weight. In 1972, only 2 years after the Beatles had officially broken up, Simon was asked a fascinating question during an interview with Rolling Stone. Which Beatles songs would continue to endure as the years passed? At the time, it wasn't an obvious question. The Beatles had dominated the 1960s unlike any other band, but the music world was changing rapidly. New genres were emerging, rock music was evolving, and many wondered whether the band's songs would remain as powerful outside the era that had produced them. Paul Simon had no doubt that several Beatles classics would survive. Although the Beatles and Simon and Garfunkel created very different kinds of music, both acts helped define the sound of the 1960s. The Beatles constantly reinvented themselves, moving from infectious pop hits to groundbreaking studio experimentation. Simon and Garfunkel, meanwhile, became known for their poetic songwriting, intricate harmonies, and deeply reflective lyrics. Rather than seeing each other as rivals, many musicians of the era recognized excellence when they heard it. Paul Simon was one of those artists who openly admired the songwriting achievements of John Lennon and Paul McCartney, while also appreciating the band's willingness to push musical boundaries. When asked which Beatles songs would continue to last, Simon selected 3 remarkable recordings. Number 1. Yesterday.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so...
The first song Simon named was Yesterday. It was hardly a surprising choice. Written by Paul McCartney, Yesterday had already become one of the most celebrated songs ever recorded by the early 1970s. Its simple acoustic arrangement, heartfelt melody, and universal theme of lost love made it timeless from the moment it was released. Unlike many pop songs tied to a particular musical trend, Yesterday relied almost entirely on the strength of its melody and emotional honesty. Those qualities allowed it to transcend generations, eventually becoming one of the most covered songs in music history. Number 2. Strawberry Fields Forever.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going.
Simon's second choice revealed just how much he valued artistic innovation. He selected Strawberry Fields Forever, John Lennon's deeply personal masterpiece that transformed what a pop song could be. Simon admitted how extraordinary the song was, saying, "I would pick Strawberry Fields Forever, a very important record to me. I like it a lot. You can't even sing the song. It's really hard to sing the song." It was an intriguing observation. The song's unconventional melody, shifting harmonies, and groundbreaking studio production made it unlike almost anything released at the time. Rather than following familiar pop formulas, Lennon and producer George Martin created a dreamlike soundscape that blurred the line between songwriting and sonic experimentation. For Simon, its brilliance wasn't just in its lyrics, it was in the way every element of the recording worked together to create something entirely new. Number 3. Eleanor Rigby.
Look at all the lonely people.
The final song Simon highlighted was Eleanor Rigby. Once again, his choice reflected admiration for the Beatles' willingness to challenge expectations. Released in 1966, the song broke away from traditional rock instrumentation, relying almost entirely on a dramatic string octet instead of guitars and drums. Even more remarkable were its lyrics, which told the story of loneliness, isolation, and forgotten lives. Long before such themes became common in popular music, Eleanor Rigby proved that a pop song could explore deeply human emotions with literary sophistication. Simon believed it was simply a really fine song. More than half a century later, that understated compliment seems entirely justified. Despite naming 3 favorites, Simon hesitated to rank them above the rest of the Beatles' catalog. Eventually, all records are dated, but the song comes back. Eleanor Rigby was a really fine song. There's no way of picking out the best songs. That comment may have been the most insightful part of his entire answer. Simon recognized that production styles inevitably reflect the era in which they were created. Sounds, recording techniques, and musical trends may age over time, but truly great songwriting has a way of surviving long after fashions change. In other words, recordings may belong to a particular decade, but great songs belong to every generation. Looking back more than 50 years later, Paul Simon's assessment has stood the test of time almost as convincingly as the songs themselves. Yesterday remains one of the most covered compositions in history. Strawberry Fields Forever continues to be celebrated as one of the most innovative recordings ever made, while Eleanor Rigby is still praised for its groundbreaking storytelling and emotional depth. Perhaps Simon's greatest insight wasn't identifying 3 exceptional Beatles songs. It was recognizing that the band's greatest achievement wasn't simply making hit records. It was writing songs that could outlive the era that inspired them. More than half a century later, those 3 classics continue to prove exactly what Simon saw back in 1972. Truly great songwriting never goes out of style.